context. Not everywhere it's possible to discuss the topic of power relations in general, and even more difficult when it's required to tackle the gender dimension of power relations. And this applies obviously more to the context of society as a whole. However, the same stands for the specific business sector, be it sector-wise or looking at a specific company. It's not very socially accepted to tackle this dimension because many people, especially men, would say, so what's the problem? We don't have any problem.
Yes, and talking about that, we are also willing to know more about what do you think about the private sector can learn from GIZ experience working on gender. And as you already mentioned about men, I would like to include the question that's why do you think that men should be involved too in this question?
Yeah, this last question, I would like to leave it for the end, and just
Okay.
also to make there a very personal statement from my point of view, why I am engaged into this gender discussion. But first of all, without underestimating the importance of sound investigation and academic work, talking about the business sector, I would definitely go for practical approaches. And from there, derive empirical evidence, which allows us to aim at scale of good practices. And without any doubt, it would be very helpful to showcase examples which underline that, first of all, it pays off when we tackle the gender issue, especially starting from prevention measures. And also very important, we can show that gender is not a cumbersome add-on, but a very important dimension which can be easily integrated from the very beginning, and thus does not necessarily cause additional efforts. And there's a lot of experience around and available. You just have to know which questions to ask, and these are rather simple questions, and then reach out to your female employees, female clients, and female service providers, and you will get very useful insights. And you will stop being gender blind. And now this last question, why should we as men feel invited to contribute our share? Look, besides a strong sense of justice and fair treatment among all of us, from my point of view, increased gender justice is key for effective results and a higher degree of efficiency. I can assure that the bigger degree of gender-based discrimination is within a system, the higher as well the lack of efficiency and effectiveness. So from my point of view, it's not only a fair, but also a very smart move to engage as a man with the endeavor of more gender justice. So thank you so much for this wonderful event. I'm really looking forward to hearing the experiences and insights of all experts and colleagues and dear friends. So thank you very much.
Now, thanks to you, Mr. Golsk, wonderful insights that you gave to us to start the session. And now I would like to pass to my colleague, to pass the floor to my colleague, Marco, that will be the moderator of the session. Unfortunately, we had a small issue with a personal issue with our moderator, Danilo. So Marco will replace him. And Marco, we are also willing to, if you could share with us during the session some aspects about the launch of the sounding board that was there. Was really interesting, the session. This was the first session, so I know that we still have a long way to learn more with our participants of the sounding board. So if you could also we could know more about it, that would be really interesting too. And thanks for your participation.
Thank you, Ari. Thank you all also for being here. Joachim, for that interview. As Ari said, my name is Marco Perez. I am the network manager of the Alliance for Integrity in Mexico, Colombia, and Ecuador, and I am the gender coordinator. So I'm quite happy, excited of this discussion. Well, we just finished this sounding board because we are strengthening forces around the world, and we identify that there are not enough compliance efforts with the gender perspective globally, and that gender roles differentiate the effects of corruption. Here we are not talking just about men or women, we are talking about how gender roles cause this effect, as sextortion can be, or in negotiations, or sometimes we see a phenomenon and we say, oh, this is a gender topic, a gender problem, and this is a corruption problem, but in the real life they are quite interconnected. So that's the point of this discussion, of this global discussion in our global conference. And just to set the baseline, just a quick introduction as a complement to the efforts that international community had done to understand the empirical relationship between gender and corruption. Here in the Alliance for Integrity, with our partners around the world, we have gone a step deeper to understand in a practical perspective the nexus between gender, not only corruption in business, but gender and business integrity. And we have tried to understand this because this is a new topic in the empirical research, not a new topic in the practical experiences, for as bad as it can sound. So what we did, we developed some gender specific formats. Just Ariadne shared them at the beginning. In Mexico and in Colombia, we did the Integrity Coffee, a 2 hours space where women can share their experiences, or in Africa, the Women for Integrity series, or in India, the Integrity, or in Indonesia, Women on Integrity. And at the same part, we participate actively in other women, gender, specialized focus business integrity spaces as Women in Compliance in Argentina. And today in our sounding board, we also identify other opportunities to strengthen forces, for example, with the UNDP in the Asian region, in Thailand, in Bangkok, or keep working with the G20, B20 commitments in the compliance task force and the gender agenda with World Economic Forum, or with the U4, the Center of Anti-Corruption Investigation. So there's a lot of work done on the topic, but the idea today is to listen to participants, to each of the formats for exchange, how has been their role. So we're going to start with the panel, and I'm quite enthusiastic to have this first message right now from Miss Anna Armohimdon. I think you are here and you were part also for the last session, the sounding board session. So I ask all the speakers to please have your camera on. I will introduce yourselves. I can see Miss Anna, Miss Billy. I can see Miss Dalma Parisi, also from Argentina, and also Bavana. Okay, so we can start then with Miss Anna Armo Himson. She's the Deputy Executive Director from the Ghana Enterprise Agency. Can you please tell us from yourself, from your experience, how has been participating in Women for Integrity series? What is this? How has been your experience? Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Perez. I think some time back, the Alliance for Integrity worked with a few institutions in Ghana really to design this platform where women could really interact, talk to each other about the challenges that they face in terms of really ensuring their business integrity, in terms of, the obstacles in the way of really progressing and moving up their businesses. And I think it's such a wonderful idea because then it provides a space for women to get together and really interact on issues that affect, their businesses and how they can really contribute towards the growth of the economy. So basically, it's a good platform that was established, and we realized that a lot of women were really felt comfortable to come out with their issues and really discuss them, and sometimes even agreed on solutions to address those issues that were discussed. But the downside of this platform is the fact that a lot of the women in business in Ghana are also not that technology savvy. So then getting them really to go out there onto the platform and share their ideas and all of that was also a bit of a challenge. So then what we would propose, for Alliance for Integrity to look at is really to get some other channels, for getting women to express themselves freely. It could be now that, under the COVID situation, I think that a lot of people are really seeing the need to go digital, to work remotely, to have meetings online and all of that. Most women are very used to, going on calls on Zoom. So then if we could get other channels really to back the platform that we have in place, I think that there could be more effective and more efficient interactions. But basically, I think that normally it's really very difficult for women to come out with issues that concerns corruption and integrity. So there's also the need for us to create some awareness as to what could be defined as corruption in the course of running their businesses. If, for instance, somebody asks a favor from you to get your business formalized, to enable you access a business registration certificate, then they should be able to clearly define that as corruption. And then also define if the channels for reporting complaints are also clearly defined, then it also helps them really to come out and seek redress whenever they come up against these challenges. So there's a need for us to really create awareness about corruption and integrity. In your discourse, you really pointed out the fact that it's a new, concept for most of us, and also for the kind of people that we work with, the micro, the small and medium enterprises. I think that the medium enterprises are quite, knowledgeable about things like this. But if you go to the women at the micro level, at the small business level, then that's an entirely new area for them. So in terms of really moving forward, we want to see more awareness creation. There's some level of awareness creation that has already been done, but we really need to find channels through which we can reach, the very small businesses. Because basically, if you look at, they are not too literate. Most of them are semi-literate. A lot of them are even illiterate. So then we should look for channels of really reaching these people, so that once they are able to identify what corruption is, what would really mar their business integrity, then the channels for lodging complaints, for grievance redress, and all of them are laid bare, then most of them would really come out with issues like this. So I think that moving forward, these are some of the recommendations that we want to make for Alliance for Integrity to consider how we are able to work together to, really ensure some transparency in terms of what is defined as corruption, what can mar somebody's business integrity, and how we complain about it, what channels we use to complain about these things, and how we can also ensure that some justice is done when those complaints are lodged. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Anna. So just to take some highlights of this first intervention, she was sharing with us how in Africa, in Ghana, it was necessary to create a space, a new format to understand and to hear, to listen from women, how they are facing corruption in their companies, how they are implementing business measures. And some of the first highlights or takeaways was we need to create awareness on this topic. We need to communicate that we know that this is happening, but that this is also corruption with a gender based. So we have a lot of participants right now adding. If you want to share a question, right now I was thinking a lot of questions to ask you, Ms. Hannah, but the idea is to have also a conversation and to see how we can continue strengthening forces. In the meantime, we go back to Mexico. Actually, I'm in Mexico, and with Miss Billy Ortiz. She is a lawyer, a woman. She's an entrepreneur, and she has participated in the Integrity Coffee. And well, we want to listen to your experience. Please continue introducing yourself, and thank you for being here, Miss Billy.
Thank you, Marco. Thank you very much for inviting me. It's an honor for me being here and having the opportunity to share my experiences. Well, I'll introduce myself briefly. I'm Mexican and I currently work as an independent legal consultant, and I collaborate with various legal firms and real estate companies. And I am also legal director at the company Certeza Inmobiliaria, who is dedicated to provide legal advisory and consulting services in real estate matters and for the granting of legal leasing policies. You asked me about my experience participating on the Integrity Coffee. So I like to share what the Integrity Coffee is. It was taken, it takes place in Mexico and Colombia. The Integrity Coffee is a platform that gives us Mexican women in business and entrepreneurs a network and a safe space in order to exchange our corruption-related experiences, good ones and bad ones, not all are bad ones. And it helps us to share the measures taken to overcome the challenges we have faced related to the link between corruption and gender. It also allows us to learn from actions taken by our peers and also to get inspired by that for developing our own plans of action. It takes the shape of an informal coffee chat with female entrepreneurs, a female trainer, and a female moderator from Alliance for Integrity's network. So I also wanted to say that Alliance for Integrity gave me the opportunity to be trained as DP trainer, from companies to companies, de empresas para empresas, to be part of the trainings for other women entrepreneurs and business leaders. In the Integrity Coffee, we were able to exchange the best anti-corruption business practices and show them how to replicate business integrity efforts, especially in some sectors where we unfortunately identified that as women leaders, they are not considered equal or capable of making decisions as men, or worse, than for being women, they cannot reach highly representative positions. So I think this is a mission that requires perseverance and these international forums to support the importance of making women companies visible to achieve greater hiring opportunities.
I'm sorry, Billy, your microphone is mute. Just for the last second, we were listening to you. Can you please turn it on?
Sorry.
No, please.
Well, maybe I just have to say that this is a mission that requires perseverance and these international forums to support the importance of making women companies visible to achieve greater higher opportunities and to face assertively gender-specific challenges related to values, norms, social pressure, and stereotypes in the business environment. Therefore, my experience participating in the Integrity Coffees has been very enriching, of much learning. It has allowed me to implement all these principles learned in my own company. It has given me the opportunity to meet many people with a lot of knowledge in the field and others who are starting in this career for the achievement of business integrity. So in conclusion, it has been an awesome experience and I am very grateful to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Billy. Thank you for sharing, and also to take the highlights. We are listening. We first listened in Ghana how they took the decision to develop Women for Integrity series. In Mexico, the Integrity Coffee, which was part. First, we did ADEPE training for this training for small and medium enterprises to prevent corruption with a gender perspective just for women. And there we saw that there were so many people asking questions and gathering to exchange ideas that it was necessary to have a space like this one. First, to understand, to listen, to hear, to be practical in that sense. And it's quite interesting to understand and that you share with us how you as an entrepreneur was able to meet more people, to strengthen your network, and to know that this is a reality that's happening to all. So now we're going to go to Asia, to India, and in the meantime, I also invite participants. We are more than 70 participants today to please keep your microphones on silence. And you can write the questions. I have seen some questions in the chat for the next round. So please, Ms. Bebana Arora, she is a participant in India from the Integrity. She's going to share with us her experience attending to this event. She's going to explain what an integrity in India is. And her position, she's head of legal and compliance at TUB Rhineland, India. So please, Ms. Bhavana, the floor is yours, and we want to know from yourself and listen to your experience. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, and good evening, good morning, good afternoon, everyone. This is Bhavna, and I head legal and compliance for TUB Rhineland, India. And many thanks to my fellow speakers. It's really wonderful to hear them, to know their experiences. I think I got associated with Alliance for Integrity in the year of 2019. And since then, it's been a wonderful experience with Alliance. And recently, we conducted a training with women entrepreneurs in India, and it was a very knowledgeful exchange session. And I would like to share a few experiences, what we heard, and what exactly compliance means to them. Basically, these women entrepreneurs are majorly from small scale industries, or some of them are from medium scale industries. The major information, or you can say major issues which we heard from them, was relating to their real estate, relating to their office spaces where they have taken on rent, where the landlords are usually, most of the landlords are male. The kind of you can say a discrimination from a gender perspective, and the lack of knowledge and awareness with regards to their legal rights. They have faced many problems in India. Apart from it, a lack of contract knowledge was also there. They didn't know what kind of right contract needs to be there, what kind of contract needs to be signed with the customer, with the client, or any kind of vendor. Especially, I would like to highlight during pandemic, they faced a lot of problem, because in pandemic, the manufacturing units or the factories where they already made the stuff, but due to pandemic issue, either they were stuck in customs, or either they were stuck with the transition or the logistic partner. the kind of penalty clients were levying on them. So all these kind of common issues they were having, and they didn't know how to address these kind of issues. Uh, Apart from it, I can also say uh, they there was a lot of difficulty in handling these women entrepreneurs when it comes to the situation of bribe in certain licensing departments or government departments. They were very uncomfortable to handle those kind of demands or those kind of things directly from the officials or directly from the private sector or the government sector. They didn't know what kind of these kind of corruption issues are, whom to approach to handle these issues, or what can be the solution, and how efficiently we can handle it without giving a bribe. Uh, Also, there was one of the instance where one of the women entrepreneurs shared that she went to a chartered accountant for some firm or her factory related work. uh, she the chartered accountant quoted some kind of a professional fees to her, which she thought or she assumed that it is a higher from the market rate. Next day, when she went back to the same chartered accountant along with her husband, the price was pretty less. So she was unable to understand that why we being a female, we are charged over, and why we, if we accompany with a colleague or a male person from the house or from the business, why they're ready to negotiate on the fees. So these were the issues which they faced, and as a solution, what we tried to understand, and we suggested them that obviously integrity app and alliance app is really very good and very helpful in certain situation and in certain aspects. Apart from it, we also told them the people who are staying in the same location or the same region can form a WhatsApp group and can have a common set of professionals where they can take their chartered accountant related services, CS related services, or if they need some kind of a lawyer related assistance for the purpose of drafting contracts. So they can work together, the people from the same location. Also, we suggested them to have a kind of a social platform where people can share their experiences, professionals can get in touch with them and offer their services, so that they should not go in the market and hunt for those services, and people will come up with some absurd prices or some absurd professional fee quotes. So these were the few experiences in India which we heard from them, and where we felt that yes, gender plays a very important role when it comes to certain situations. And I think it's a stereotype, I can say, because India as a country once upon a time used to be considered as a male dominant society in a traditional way, but over a period of time the things have changed, and I think still we are in an improvisation phase when it comes to gender equality. But yeah, it's much better now, but in certain sectors we still face the same problem. So these were the experiences which I wanted to share with everyone from India side. And I think the session was really very good. Seema was a great support in organizing the session. And we were able to answer all their queries, and we provided them a lot of solution and a lot of basic ways to tackle the situation. So this is how we handled it.
Thank you so much. A lot of information shared and so valuable. Just how enriching is to listen and to understand, for example, the challenges talking on bribery, for example, and how different it is to have this approach to the topic, and how careful we must be to have and share the information, and how in other parts of the world we're looking that even with different culture, with different legal frameworks, the problems are quite similar. So that offers us an opportunity to strengthen us. And we have listened that in the three last formats from Ghana, from Mexico, and from India. And also what Ms. Bhavana was sharing, how they offer this space to make network, to keep the communication between each other, and to know because information is just not to explain the problem, but to give the lines. If this happens, you can come with this, and you can use also the network of compliance officers or experts that are already working on that. And that allows me to give the floor to our next speaker, now from Argentina, Ms. Dalma Parisi. She's the General Counsel for Argentina and Head of Compliance for South America without Brazil from Siemens. She's one of our most active DP trainers, and well, she's going to share with us her experience attending and being part and leading a lot of efforts from a collective action in Argentina, and how we did an interregional exchange with Indonesia with women integrity. So please, Zalma, we listen to you. The floor is yours.
Well, thank you, Marco, and thank you, Alliance for Integrity, for the invite to join this panel. To be realistic, when we started, I mean, collective action is important and we know it. And at Siemens, we're working since many years in collective action and on the importance of building trust among the regions. And one of the things we realized with Alliance for Integrity is that you were facing some, let's say, challenges in Indonesia and in other countries. And so we decided that it was maybe smart to have a group of experts or people working on compliance and integrity topic in South America, that we have already faced some challenges, or we are facing still some challenges on integrity matters, and try to exchange experiences with the women in integrity in Indonesia by exchanging information, sharing experiences, trying to understand that even though we are in a different time zone and that we have a lot of maybe intercultural differences, the reality is that we have something in common, that is that the challenges and the problems that we are facing are in somehow the same. And what we did with the women in integrity in Indonesia was sharing what we were doing in South America, basically, and also explaining the tools and the rules and the solutions that we have found and that were basically successful in the region, and trying to see if we could be able to maybe customize and readapt to the local needs on Indonesia in order to have maybe some kind of solution for the problems they were facing. From my perspective, the interaction with the women in integrity in Indonesia was very powerful and enrichful, because we understood that regardless the time difference and everything, we have a common thread, that is the same problems facing corruption, and that is that corruption, undermines institutions, and corruption really is an obstacle for the development of the society. And so at the end, what we needed is to try to see how these women in Indonesia could maybe build alliances and try to see which were the common problems they were facing, and try to start working on collective action. And so we did several meetings where we share experiences. I was really surprised by the sharpness and the accuracy of the questions that they raised in the meetings. And I think that was very successful at the end of the day, because now I see that they are a really strong network and that they are working towards a common goal. And going to your second part of the question, Marco, and it's, at the end of the day, is the same, right? I mean, we have in Argentina a network called Women in Compliance. We are more than 150 women from different backgrounds, professional backgrounds, let's say, but with a common thread, that is that we are all working in integrity, compliance, and diversity, and of course, gender equality. And we gathered together in 2017 because we understood that we had the need to have a common platform to share experiences, to share information, to be up to date on what's going on the region, about what was going on in Argentina. We have sisters networks in Brazil and in Chile. And from my perspective, Also, it was a really good platform, and I think that this is something that we have to replicate in different networks, where you have different seniorities in a network, and one of the people that maybe is more senior or has more experience or is more in the spotlight because everybody knows that person, easily can provide a space on a room and the floor to somebody that is new maybe on the discipline, and that can start participating in conferences, events, or maybe giving, I don't know, classes or whatever. And this is very important because you can, I mean, you can learn the basics from compliance and integrity by, let's say, by a course or by your background, your professional background, but on the job is easier. And if plus that you have a network where you can rely on the people you have, your colleagues, and you can ask questions and you can raise your concerns, that is even better. And also another thing that we have is, of course, we live in a world where we are women and men, right? And so we have stakeholders, and we have a lot of men supporting the initiative, supporting the network in Argentina. But at the end of the day, if I have to say my message and what I learned from these experiences in the different networks that I participated in, is that in order to promote integrity and to foster transparency in institutions and in organizations, we really need to understand that we have to work together, that it's a joint effort that we have to do. And this is a global challenge. And so when you understand that corruption is an obstacle for the development of the economies of the societies, and that is a problem for the public sector, the private and the civil society all together, you start understanding that it's like everybody has to collaborate in order to level not only the playing field, but also to have a fair market, an equal society, and a more diverse world, let's say, right? And so at the end of the day, diversity, inclusion, transparency, and integrity they go hand in hand. So that will be my learning from this.
Wow, thank you. Also, I can take a lot of highlights or takeaways from Ms. Alma's participation, but what I find is that she shared with us the basic principles of the sustainable development. No one can do everything, but everyone can do something. And this is the moment where the private sector, the public sector, civil society, and talking on private sector, we can go, as she said, with people with more seniority or with more knowledge, or entrepreneurs that are beginning on this topic and that they want to do things different, but they don't know how. And how, as big the world is, we identify same troubles or same challenges around the world. And what we did with Argentina, sharing the good practices in the country and in Latin America with Indonesia, it was quite effective for both. It was a win-win scenario that opened a lot of doors and that allowed us to keep this networking in a global and in a more sustainable environment. So we're gonna keep this conversation, and we have a message from Indonesia. As you know right now, well, if not, you will know now, but in Indonesia is quite late in the night. Right now it's a challenge to have a global space platform, but we already have this record message from Ms. Vina Bardina, who attended to Women on Integrity Indonesia. That was the other part that with Argentina did this interregional exchange. So let's see the video.
Hi, my name is Vina Wardina. I'm member of Women of Integrity Indonesia since 2017. Women in Integrity in Indonesia, they provide a safe platform for female entrepreneur and professional like me to discuss key challenges related to corruption in day-to-day business. The member of the working group are representative of Businesswomen Association in West Java, Indonesia. We commit to promoting business integrity and raising awareness of the importance of anti-corruption effort among women. So a lot knowledge about corruption and gender from this working group. and I know what I'm going to do in my business to right way. A woman in integrity help in the business woman. So I thankful for be a power woman in integrity, a working group in Indonesia.
Okay, sorry. I think it was quite a complement perspective to see this in first hand, how it was a win-win scenario. We have just some few minutes left of this discussion. As we said, and Ari just wrote in the chat, all the questions are welcome. Right now, I have gathered some questions, so I will offer this to the speaker. I'm going to read some of these questions and I'm going to give to you, the floor again to you so you can give a message trying to answer the question that fit the most to your experience, perspective, or it can complement the message. I have find here 6 questions. So here's one. What do you think are the most effective actions to search for gender equality in companies? This question comes from Brazil. Actually, in the chat, some other participants said that communication can be an interesting part of it. Another question that's quite related to what just Dalma said about how all of us have to participate, and also what Mr. Joachim said before, what should be the role of men in these spaces? Why in the Integrity Coffee, in the Integrity, in the Women Integrity series, in Women in Compliance, why there are no men there? Why? What do you think should be our role in this discussion? Another question is, what practices or actions have you found in your experience that tackle or address corruption in companies for women? Okay. Also, there was a question for the Integrity Coffee that already Billy answered about the vision, mission, values, and how it can be translated to cultural barriers. Actually, we adapted Integrity Coffee also in Colombia, and it was interesting. And last but not least, also, what do you think are the most effective actions to search gender equality? Well, that's aligned with the other, and how to ensure perspective of diversity and not only a binary one. And also here I see a question for Dalma on, however, how each country has different challenges, but according to her experience, how can we adapt our training and communicate to each country? Okay, so quite ambitious questions. I hope you don't forget them. So we can start with Miss Anna, please. Can you try to answer any of these questions that come from the audience?
I would attempt to answer the question on how men can also be brought on board, for us together to fight corruption and also really maintain business integrity. I think that it's high time we looked at the approach, for addressing some of these things. The fact that we leave out the men, I don't think is in order. So we need to go back to the drawing board and see how we can also bring the men on board so that we can work hand in hand. I mean, if we have space where women and men are discussing, we have the 2 dimensions, the way women would normally see it in their own perspective and how the men would also see it. Once we're able to discuss and reach, a middle line, then it means that we can also be able to take some actions moving forward. Then it's not a matter of, the women discussing in their own small space and reaching out to the men, to also help them really make some good inroads into addressing the issues. So I would suggest that we make the men our very strong allies in all the discussions. Let's see how we can also bring men, with expertise to tackle some of the issues that may be raised by the women, some of the challenges that the women face. How do we together, forge ahead to ensure that those challenges are addressed so that women can also conduct their businesses the way men do and really grow these businesses to the highest level that they want to grow them. Thank you very much.
Thank you for the inspiring message and sharing the responsibility together. So, Ms. Billy Ortiz, please.
Yes, I think I read two questions. The first one was from Carla. Do you want me to answer this or only in the chat? Well, I can say briefly that the fundamentals, vision, and mission are that the Integrity Coffee gives women leadership recognition. There we share our experiences, our knowledge, so they can develop better synergies with other companies and best anti-corruption programs. The other question was, what practices or actions have you found in your experience that tackle or address corruption in companies for women? Well, I think first of all, we have to recognize that we live in a male-dominating business and negotiations. So we have to identify ourselves as a factor of cultural change in negotiations, showing that being a woman is a strength and not a weakness that deserves respect and recognition. I think maybe you have to generate bonds of trust in your team and with other enterprises. So you make relationships with partners who have the same values as you and your company. Let me see. Well, in conclusion, I think always before making a decision, you have to be sure what is the purpose of the action you are going to take, which is the result you are looking for it, and where it will take you, because there are no excuses for corruption. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Billy. Now we can come also with Ms. Bhavana Arora. We have shared some of the questions that the audience had asked about challenges, good practices, role of men, diversity. Please let us know your answer.
Thanks, Marco. I think my fellow speakers have really addressed the issue exactly. I would like to comment on your question, which is with regards to the how do we bring good practices within the organization to avoid corruption. Addressing that point, the usual thing which I do in my organization, I would like to share, and probably this is something which is very basic and common things which can be done in any organizational level, whether it's a small scale industry or whether it's a medium scale industry or whether it's a MNC or any private organization. It is very important to bring awareness through a lot of awareness sessions. Maybe it can be via training. It should be a very interactive training where people come up with their departmental or their service functions or their business functions issue, and you try to address them from the compliance angle. Also, it is very important to make them aware about the code of conduct which we follow on an organizational level, where it addresses the corruption related issues, bribery, and other aspects related to it. The usual practice which I do in my organization is talking during the training session, having an interactive training session. Also on a monthly basis, or I usually send them the email flyers which flashes out the different issues relating to corruption, such as which is the hot case going on in India, what was the reason why this corruption issue came up. So such kind of email flyers really attract their attention, and they get to know about what can be the repercussion if they indulge into such kind of activities. And also they also understand from a legal perspective how important it is not to indulge into such kind of practices. And third, we also have a informal chat session during lunch hours, randomly business functions or the particular department we get in touch with, and we just have a casual chat session over a lunch, which is more of an informal side where they really open up and they come out with their practical issues. They share their business problems, and they also share why they land up into certain situations of bribery and corruption. So it is very important to bring such kind of awareness through basic ways which I practice usually in India. And let me tell you, integrity app we all follow within our compliance department, not only in India, but in my head office in Germany, Cologne, Berlin, everywhere we follow integrity apps. It's very useful within the function. Uh, I must wish and congratulate Alliance for Integrity for bringing up such a beautiful thing, and it's really helpful and knowledgeable. So that was an experience which I wanted to share with everyone. I guess if you have any other question, let me know.
Thank you so much. It's quite positive to listen good practices using some of the tools developed as the Integrity app or any other. And I will take one of the points you said about the behavioral compliance, to say so, or the perspective on trying to understand why they do this, or what was the thinking that motivates some conducts, and how when you communicate that you allow like awareness raising in a different perspective. And that's also another perspective. As we have seen, we can fight corruption through a legal framework, to a social one, to the compliance strategies, but also trying to understand behavior, conduct, motivation. It's also one of the trends on this. And well, last but not least, also with Ms. Dalma, we can maybe try to answer the question on your regional experience working in different countries, how we can adapt these measures to different boundaries or different states.
I have to do two remarks, if you allow me. The first one is related to the inclusion of men. And I think that, of course, I'm talking, and this is the first disclaimer, I have, let's say, the lack of working in a diverse company. And so I know that I am in a position where I don't have to struggle with some challenges that maybe in another companies or organizations you have to challenge, okay? But having said that, I also part of two networks in Argentina. One is the one that I mentioned, Women in Compliance, but the other is Marianne, Argentina, that is like a French-Argentinian also network. And the thing that we are doing with men is that, I mean, with Marianne, we have the Jamais en Cell, that is like never without them, right? And so what we are encouraging is that every man in a position of power has to try to just to spotlight a female or a female colleague or a female coworker, and with that we are just empowering and fostering the positioning of women on the making decision spots that we need. That's one thing. On Women in Compliance, we have the stakeholders that we were discussing. And in general, we have a lot of men who are supporting the network and supporting the initiative, and they are also bringing ideas and sharing information with us. Because, I mean, at the end of the day, it was what I was saying at the beginning. You cannot, if we keep talking among us only, the discussion is not realistic, because in the real world you have to interact with people. But what I found really interesting from the network, the female networks, is that we need to understand how to play in teams, how to be team players, right? And how to exchange information and also be more, let's say, have more generosity on providing, for example, opportunities and spotlights, as I was saying before. That's one remark from one side. And the second question was regarding, of course, corruption is a global challenge, and you all know that, and you have the local experiences or the local needs. And going to Caro's question, in order to adapt your training material or your communication material, you have to be very aware of how the local needs are, or which are the local needs that you have. I mean, you cannot just take one German training and bring it to Mexico or to Argentina, because it's not going to work. And so in order to do that, you need to have local experts who help you building up your training material. And also you have to do like a target group or a focus group when you can just try it out and see if it really works. And at the end of the day, what you really want is, you don't want to cascade down a training just to do it and to comply and to take in, right? I mean, what you want is to change the cultural experience of the company or the organization you're working in. And so at the end of the day, what you really need is to understand and to listen to your people, to understand the real needs, and also to understand the surrounding that you have, the environment. If you're working in a market that is high-risk market because it's very corrupt or has a lot of challenges, you have to understand that, and of course the local law. And in order to do that, you need to go back to your experts and ask to legal, to compliance, and to your people in your organization what is going on, and also listen to the people in the business. So that would be my recommendation at the end.
Thank you so much, Ms. Alma. Thank you to everyone. We are reaching out of time. And I saw one last question. They were saying some advices for setting compliance program for small and medium enterprises led by women. And with this, I want to close this session because you already said it. And I'm gonna brainstorm some of the ideas that you already share as quick as food finger. Join efforts. This is something that we all have to do together. And what Ms. Anna said, men are allies. When they ask me why I'm doing this, because this is not talking about sex, it's about gender, and we all suffer on this. It's like climate change. We are part of this planet. We are all faces gender roles. And if we are part of the problem, we should be part of the solution, and is doing this together. Let's open the conversation, you said. Don't be afraid on looking for other good practices around the corner or around the world. Through digitalization, through collective action, through initiatives as this one, we can allow to join efforts and to open conversation as we need it. Adapt methodologies. We saw in India this works, in Ghana this works, in Mexico, in Argentina this works. Right now, Dalma was saying, let's look for local experts, for local needs. Let's take this global good practice, but let's adapt it to our reality. Also, the awareness raising, that was something that was common said in each of your interventions, how to communicate this correctly and together, and also to focus the strategies. If we say, oh, let's fight corruption and gender stereotypes, we're never gonna finish because it's an endless problem. But if we say, let's focus and focus our strategy, our target in women entrepreneurs of the supply chain in this locality, or we're going to adapt this code of ethics with a gender perspective, that will open a big opportunity, a win-win scenario, as we saw with Indonesia in this exchange. Global, local, we are doing this together. Don't be afraid of having this. We are giving first steps before with the sounding board and right now. So from my side is thank you for the openness, for the confidence, for the trust on sharing this information. We will keep the conversation. We will share some links of our topic page where we already have some insights, and also we will communicate some practical and punctual takeaways after this discussion. So we come back with Ari to close the event and see what's next in the global conference agenda. We cannot listen to you, Ari.
I'm so sorry. So now we have the digitalization session. I already shared with you the link, so you can join the next session. And thank you.
Thank you all.
Bye, thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.